Hi, beautiful friends. Welcome back to my channel and this series to strengthen your system. Today, part of what I want to talk about is how we face ourselves and the reality of being within our truest self, because we did talk about having our power and a couple things that we can do to kind of uplift ourselves. But I also feel like it's really important to identify where you stand right now. So many of us have grown up really working towards what it is that people expect of us, becoming a person that is, seen as a good figure in society. We're just meant to kind of follow some instruction as to who we are. And along that way, we really lose ourselves because very few people stay within who they are and go through life that way, especially going through school systems, peers, society standards, and all that. So I wanted to take a look at that today because there's three kinds of selves where we are. There's the masked self, which we'll get into all of these, the lower self, and then our true self. So first I want to start with our masked self. When we are in a masked state of who we are, it's kind of like the pretend version of us. It's the faker version. It's the mask we wear to impress other people, to be a certain way that is required. And it's also something we hide behind because a lot of us are very unsure about ourselves, or we don't really feel that confident in who we are. Maybe we're different than other people, especially we want to hide that. I know myself, I always had this kind of like a little bit of a different take than other people that I knew. And I decided to wear a mask for a very long time until more recently in my life, like the last 10 years of my life. And I'm already almost close to 50. So for those of you who are younger, this is awesome because this is the time in life more than ever before to really take our mask off, to really show who we are, because deep down who we are, our true self, is a beautiful, poetic, artistic, creative, beautiful version, right? So it's just like each one of us is so unique. And really, we've been kind of captivated by being the same as everyone else. We've learned that we need to follow the line and become like everyone else, when the truth is that that's not really the way to go. But along the way, because we've been taught that, we've decided to mask ourselves up. And so it's kind of like the imposter self. We're being an imposter in comparison to our truest nature. And we act a certain way, we respond a certain way. We learned through TV and other people how to respond. Oftentimes, a lot of us hide behind humor as well, because we're not able to be essentially the truest selves. We use humor, or, we can go down a lot of different paths, humor just being one of them, but a way to hide ourselves behind something. And when we do that, of course, we're going to lose a grip on many things in our life because we're not in our true essence. We're not being ourselves. So things aren't going to happen the way we really want them to. We're not going to attract the people that we really need in our life. And eventually we're going to lose ourselves because we're going to forget who our true deepest self is, because this mask has been worn for decades. Most of us have been wearing masks since we were a kid, trying to fit in and conform and make sure we fall in line, doing it what it was that our parents and teachers and people taught us how to be. So everyone around us has a mask that they're wearing. Once you become aware of it, you can then see other people and how they wear a mask to protect themselves. It's another whole protection. A mask protects you. Okay, so if you're afraid of who you are deep down, like I've been always a little quirky and a little different, I thought differently and all that, I hid behind a mask so that people didn't notice that, so that people accepted me, right? So, and then when we're hiding and wearing our mask, hiding under the mask, we're losing ourselves. We're also giving away our power. We are so good at giving away our power. And so in these times right now, part of getting stronger is to actually get back into our authentic, truest self and take the mask off. Because the way we're going to help improve the planet, our lives, the world, the people around us lives, is by being in our truest, absolute, most deepest, beautiful form of self. The second self that I like to talk about is the lower self. So the lower self is kind of where a lot of us function from. This is the part where we are, following along, and we're choosing things that are easy. We're choosing what everyone else chooses. We might even choose things that are beneath us, right? We may make choices that are less worthy. We're feeling less worthy of things. This is when we allow things in our life that we wouldn't normally want there. This is where fear and lack come in. Our lower self functions through fear and lack. Think of it that way. So when we're fearing maybe losing a partner or, not having that person in our life, sometimes we do things or say things or act a certain way to keep somebody around. We're lowering ourselves to try to gain or keep something out of fear, right? We're holding on to somebody who we know isn't good for us. We hold on to smoking cigarettes because it helps us cope. Or, it could be a variety of things, but we're lowering ourselves by accepting these things in our life, or doing these things, or believing in certain things that otherwise, in essence, we don't really truly feel that good about. It's also about control. The lower self wants us to be in control of everything, because how out of control is the world sometimes? Our lives sometimes feel very out of control. Things come in and through our life that we cannot control. When we feel out of control, we do something to take control, which becomes kind of like a sense of security. It's a false sense of security. So we may do things that really we wouldn't otherwise do just to keep that sense of security. And that happened recently in the last couple of years, as we were all over the place with all the fear stuff that was going around, the virus, all the stuff that's still going around. What do we do to comfort ourselves? A lot of people took up alcohol, smoking, drugs, even like pharmaceutical drugs. People got on them like crazy. The lower self decides that that's okay, because it makes you feel like you're in control when really you're completely out of control. And it's you're fulfilling different desires that aren't based on your truth, right? Like, I needed to be aligned as a nurse in this pandemic stuff, right? It's all that they talked about every day, especially in the beginning. They're still talking about it now. I just don't participate anymore. But I had to go along with, whatever they were telling us. I had to take the little exams about the injection, and in order to keep my job, in order to stay secure. And I lowered myself because these things didn't resonate with me. None of this mindset, the critical thinking was gone. I still did it in the beginning because I felt like I had to. So it was my way of keeping my life under control somehow. And in the end, when we're only answering to the lower self, we're never really coming back up, right? The lower self are like the lower chakras. It's from the waist down almost. It's like you're cutting off from all the heart energy, speaking up in your voice. When I'm going to the chakras, it's like the heart chakra, the throat, You're unable to speak your truth. When you're in the lower self, you're staying down under the radar and you're conforming to keep control in your life like you feel like it's going to be. If we access the heart and our voice and really our cosmic consciousness, or, you know, our connection to the greater power, we probably wouldn't be choosing to do these things, where I was lowering myself to stay, you know, in the range of not being too controversial at my job. I had to go with the flow so that it wasn't like I was causing issues, but I was in my lower energies and I was drinking alcohol and I was doing things that weren't really very helpful for me. So I kept piling on things to keep myself down, on top of wearing the mask. Okay. My mask started to come off like pretty early on, and my filter was starting to come through. So I saw people wearing a mask and pretending to be this way. And then there was this part of me that was like calling it out, but I did it in a way that wasn't really effective. And I found myself more negative and just frustrated and angry at everything because I was so frustrated about the mask and I was in my lower energy. So if I was in my lower energy, that's when I was complaining, going hardcore negative. You know, I'd get my patients on the phone and I'd be like, do you see what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes they'd come in with theirs as well. You know, negative, just keep going. It's like a battle to what, you know, it's all lower energy. We don't really want to stay there, right? We want to be in the true self, which is like the third layer here. Who is the true core of who you are, right? What are your beliefs? And maybe like the values, if you go back to when you were a little kid, what was important to you? Well, of course, it was like your family, feeling loved, loving others, having your friends, taking care of the animals on the planet. Like little kids just naturally are that way. You could still see it today in all kinds of little kids. I mean, as long as they haven't been, you know, bombarded by screen time since, you know, day one, which is happening a lot. But the core of who you are is always going to be unmasked and the higher self. The core of who we are really resonates in our heart. Who am I? Okay. I am not a nurse. My profession was nursing, but who am I? I'm a compassionate, loving, giving, beautiful human being who loves to care for people. So the profession kind of went along with that. However, I had to lower myself and wear a mask the whole time while in it. I couldn't be the truest nature of who I was. It did come through, no lie. A lot of my patients did get to see the true, amazing, compassionate person that I was. But I had to hide behind a mask and pretend that the information and what I was telling them was what we had to talk about. When in truth, my higher self, my true self, knew there were other answers, that this isn't the answer, that this profession doesn't get it all together. But I had to stay in that energy. I had to wear the mask to play the role. So we're coming to a point in time right now. We cannot be wearing our mask anymore. We cannot function from the lower energies because we're going to find ourselves very unsatisfied, incomplete, fumbling, frustrated, angry, things falling apart, not going the way we want them to. Negative thinking, it's going to take over. We're going to be worried. We're going to constantly feel like we're not doing well enough. We're not accessing our true self. And it's not even like we're going to be aware, like we're unaware that like we're not being in our truest self. We're so out here. We got this mask. We can't see. We're not in our grounded, true state of being. Being in your truest self, coming from the heart energy, speaking your truth, and accessing God energy and the universe and all that does exist, meaning there's more to life than this place we live, than this world we see. There's so much more. So when we get over the fact that It's not just what we see in front of us. I don't have to wear this mask. I don't have to do things to keep my energy low and function from a place of trying to stay secure, feeling insecure. Fake it till you make it. We don't want to be in that energy anymore. It doesn't work, actually. What we're finding is that as much as we're with the mask self and in the lower self, things aren't working out for us. We're not able to help other people. We can barely help ourselves when we're in those places, when we're wearing the mask. We're afraid of people seeing the true essence of who we are. I personally have been afraid of this. I've always, again, been kind of the weirder one. Weird in the fact that I didn't think like other people all the time. I didn't fit into the norm of society. I tried, and I certainly use humor. That's why I brought it up. Humor was my way of all my discomfort, feeling so uncomfortable with the mask and the person I was trying to be and pretending, and then the alcohol and all those things, because it was so uncomfortable, because I couldn't be myself. Genuinely couldn't be myself. It really took me to step away from all those people. I stepped away from my family and friends. I actually moved 3,000 miles away from them all so that I could be myself. And I still, for 20 years, didn't get it. Trust me. It's not like you decide you're going to be your truest self and it just happens. Well, for now, actually, in the times we're in, I feel like when you do make decisions these days, stuff manifests quickly. It's like that. But before, when I moved away and I wanted to just be myself, I got to be myself. It was so great because I got to be myself without apologies. Nobody was around. I found people that were a lot more like me. I did. So once you start to be who you truly are, you'll start to attract those people that allow you to be that way, that aren't going to judge you, and who are quite similar to you, however that is. It doesn't have to look like how I am, but once we decide, I'm done wearing the mask. I don't want to function in a lower state. I'm tired of hiding who I am. I'm tired of being what I am expected to be. And of course, like the core essence of our true self is always going to be beautiful. It's unique. It's going to look different, but it's always beautiful because that's the core of all of us. We are just amazing, beautiful essences, We are functioning from the heart, but we've learned to function from our head, and we've learned to take on the mental thought processes, mindsets, and rules and things from other people and from society and all the leader of whatever, that it's clogged up, clouded our vision, covered over. Here, our heart is not just like functioning perfectly well. We're not coming from this brilliantly. It's not beaming, okay? We may function from it like a little bit because we're up here so much, right? So much going on in the world. We're thoughtful of it. It's like bombarding us with fear and insecurity, and then we go back down again and we go to the lower self to feel secure because we're freaked out. We don't know how to just be ourselves fully. And I'm still learning. Look, like I'm not 100%. It's a journey. You got to take the mask off first, and that's scary. You keep putting it back on. Trust me, I've been through that. The lower energy stuff comes back, it calls in. It's like, hey, just come here, just do this. You'll feel okay. Okay. Don't worry about it. And then it's always the guilt and the regret and the, frustration that you almost give up on the true self. You're like, forget it. I'll just do this. I can't win in the world. I'm never going to be accepted. This is what I've been through personally. But no matter what, my deepest core of myself, as I do the work, keeps saying, no, this is you. You stand out for this, that, and the next thing, and you stand for what it is that's your truth. And at the core of it all is love. We all want to be loved. And in the end, give and receive, Like that's the true nature of humanity. is giving and receiving love, because out of that births everything else. So my question for you is, have you looked at yourself to see who you really are at the core part of you? What matters to you? When all else is breaking down and crumbling, and there's war and there's strife and struggle and all this negative energy going on, where do you go? Do you hide behind that mask again? Do you subdue yourself and drink, or just watch TV? Or, there's so many ways our lower self can just keep us at that cool stage. Just stay down here. It's safer, right? There feels like it's a false sense of security. This is the true security. Your core. Your core could be in your gut as well. It's not just heart. Many people don't listen to their gut, which is a huge, huge part of who we are as well. We've learned to ignore it. We push food in there to quiet it. Food feeds a certain way of, again, pushing it down. So we don't have to hear it and don't want to listen to it. But really, we need to come back to the true self of who we are, the true core of who we are. And in these times where we're trying to strengthen ourselves because the world is in chaos and things are happening, this is so vital for our growth and for our future. I've heard people say, what future, Trisha? There's not going to be a future. And I was like, you know what? There is a future. And the more we focus on all the negative happening and feed into it, we're creating that. We are these huge creators, you guys. We're the creators on the planet. So whatever we focus on, everything we do is creating a reality. If we're focused on the war happening and, oh my God, the people are dying, and oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, we are creating that more. Do you realize, like, that sounds, I've said that to a couple people and they're like, please, give me a break. I'm like, okay. Think about something enough and see what happens. To me, it's what you believe, you perceive, and eventually you receive. Did I say that right? What you perceive, you believe, and eventually you receive. Just think of it that way. Just think of how we create our reality. And if we're in a mask and functioning at the lower, what kind of reality are you going to create? It's probably not going to be one that you're so proud of. You may not even feel good about it. Because I know when I was in that a lot and I was functioning there like wholesomely, I didn't feel good about myself. I always felt negative. The days were hard. My life was hard. Everything seemed to go wrong all the time. I wasn't listening to the who I am, especially in the profession I was in. Did I want to be that standout person? I really didn't. I wanted to just get my job done, do the work, not make too many waves, because the waves aren't received in certain places. There's a lot of professions and mindsets and places that if you cause a wave, you are the negative and they will take you out in a second. So we all avoid those things. We don't want to be taken down. We don't want to be reprimanded. We don't want to be talked about and judged. We want to just get along in the world, but that's our problem. We've allowed those things to create ourselves, to create us, and to form who we are when that's not who we are at our core. So my message to you in this video is to ask yourself, who am I at my truest self? Even if you just wrote down loving, compassionate, care about people, whatever, start there. Because then from there, I am of love. What is it in the world I want to create with the love that I have? Even if it's just a garden or your home or something, it's not like, okay, you have to shift your world to say, how am I going to help humanity? We're not here to save other people. We're here to add to the energy add to the love by being our authentic, truest self. Because as a collective, everything we all do affects one another. So how can I be as a person? Who am I at the truest core of me to be able to add to the world and create this beautiful, different energy than what's going on now? So that is our job in a way. I mean, think of it that way. Think of it like, how can I help this chaos right now? You can send a friend a message. You can be kind to somebody at the store, smile at everyone you see. Those things make a huge difference in the life of their, like in their life and in the whole collective and in your life. Because when I smile at people and I help someone at the store, or I see an elderly person, like I really miss working with older people, it makes my day to interact with them. And my interaction's always going to be loving and caring, but I just help their day, but I don't do it to do that, right? I do it because at the core who I am, I love that. I love helping elders. And I know that that's adding to the good in the world, which does, again, influence the ultimate outcome. So that's where I leave you, my friends. I just want you to look at, where do you have the mask on? How is that mask helping you behave in life? What are you hiding behind? What are you afraid of? Then what's the lower self doing? What is it calling you and pulling you into staying in that low vibration? Why are you feeling okay with that, or you're not feeling okay with that? And what can you do to bring yourself back into your true higher self? And how can you now start to work all these things through so that you could take the mask off, get out of that lower energy, and just be this blissful, beautiful human being in the world, however that looks. So that's it. That's a way to strengthen ourselves again in this time. And I'm sending you guys all my love. I want all of us to feel empowered and to get stronger in ourselves, because I'll tell you what, the one thing that humanity has forgotten or has been pushed out of our picture, you know, something we've been pushed away from, is how powerful we are. When I say your intention of loving others or doing something kind in the day is so powerful. It's so powerful. So go with that. Go forward with that. Figure out who you are. Write it down. You'll find so many answers when you start looking beyond the mask you've been wearing and finding your true self. And I will see you guys next video. If you happen to like this video, please like, subscribe, share, and comment below with anything you're feeling about these times, how you might wear a mask, how things have changed for you. And I will see you guys next video. Until then, take good care of yourselves. Bye, guys.